Talk to us about how this decision, which essentially says that guns are you are able to deny those who have been accused and found guilty of domestic abuse. You can deny them from having access to a gun. How did that land for you all at Moms Rising, and what are your thoughts on the impacts of the case, of the decision?
Yeah, it's very interesting to us. This is a very good step forward, but when I say a
Mm,
step, I mean like a little bitty
right.
tiptoe.
Little
You know,
hop.
babies walk on the
Tippy top.
tips of their toes, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you feel like you're not getting anywhere. What we are dealing with is a massive gun violence problem. Just this month, we've seen the anniversary of some of the most heinous mass shootings that have impacted Black people in this country. And we really have to think about why that is. And what we always want to let people know is that one of the reasons why guns are so prevalent in the United States is because of the Second Amendment and the racist intent of the Second Amendment, which was to
Mm-hmm.
arm white civilians, right, and basically militias, in the face of Black people aren't getting their freedom in the United States, and
While
to
banning
quote
Black people
unquote,
from being able to own guns.
yeah, protecting this right to bear arms, was really about arming white people in the face of these huge African populations that were in the United States back during the Second Amendment. And so it has deep white supremacist roots. It's why it's really hard to untangle, gun access, especially these automatic weapons, military grade weapons, because it's really kind of embedded in this sense of white supremacy and protecting oneself from others. Think of like maybe an old time replacement theory. I think we've had that discussion here on the
Ooh,
show. Think of that back in
yes.
the 1800s. That's the Second Amendment. If we don't arm ourselves, we'll be replaced by another population. And so we're living with that today. So, yes, banning gun owners who are people from owning guns who have domestic violence convictions is a really teeny tiny small step in the face of the fact that we have more guns than people in the United
Right.
States. And,
Right.
and we're still seeing these horrific mass shootings.
I woke up and today, excuse me, the Tennessee Holler, which is one of my favorite news accounts right now, they posted a tweet that said Tennessee headlines just from this morning. The first said helicopter video released after suspects allegedly fired more than 30 shots at Nashville officers. Chattanooga police investigate overnight shooting. Man misfired during active shooter situation in Hamilton County on Monday. Teenage girl shot in the head. Suspect at large after road rage shooting in Bedford County. Man shot in the head. Bystander wounded after Madison shooting. We're in a moment right now where that's just in Tennessee. And
Yep.
that's just one state. That's just overnight. It's just one state, just one. When you talk about the fact that we've got more guns than people, we've got this reality where the ability to own a weapon was racialized and gave white people the ability to overconsume the right to defense, to overconsume the ability to hold handheld weapons of mass destruction. Monifa, this is a recipe for disaster. So even though a lot of people were excited about this decision, I'm with you. It's like, yay, yay, I guess. Okay, I'll take it because we need it. But I also wondered how is this going to impact the policing in this nation, considering how many police families or law enforcement families experience domestic violence. I'm like, what's this going to do to the police force? I don't know that the decision is going to actually do anything to the police force, but it is something that I mull over when I think about the farther reaching implications of this.
Well, you and I always think about how the criminal legal system works. Whenever you tie a policy to who does and doesn't have a particular conviction, also, right? We
Mm.
know that not
Mm.
all domestic violence perpetrators have a domestic violence
That's right.
conviction, right? You're a
That's right.
lawyer and you know the deal also on top of that. So yes,
Yeah.
it will be meaningful for some, and I definitely hope that it can save lives and protect some people. But we've got a massive problem on our hands, and not even all domestic violence perpetrators are in this system or known of. Like you said, a lot of police officers commit domestic violence, and that never kind of makes it to court. We know these things, and so we're going to keep fighting. What I don't want people to get is demoralized, okay? Because we
Right.
do have to continue to work to build a better world for our children and our grandchildren. And sometimes these fights are long, but I think this is a sign that we can advance and move forward, and we got to be strategic and make some big steps next time. This is a nice little step. Now we need a little hop, need an Olympic jump the next time. But the courts have been a problem. And, this has been the anniversary of Dobbs. And, all these things are connected.
Yeah. Forcing women into the type of sexual reality where it's only for reproduction, forcing women into a space where we're connecting with the joys of sex is no longer what we're supposed. I mean, I thought we fought so that women could fully embody and fully appreciate their bodies and participate in pleasurable activities of their choosing. But you've got a whole movement right now that is advocating for a feminist movement against the pill. They don't, and part of Project 2025 is to get rid of birth control. And considering we're now 2 years out from Dobbs, where everyone said, oh no, it's just abortion. We just want to save the unborn and use all this language. Now they're like, yeah, and we also want you to stop having sex for pleasure. Because when you're having sex for pleasure and you're not getting pregnant, you're not dealing with the consequences of your sexual activity. And sexual activity is sinful anyway, outside of the context of reproduction. Who do you think you are having an orgasm? Monifa, what are we to make of this? This is their political policy. They're protesting women having orgasms without getting pregnant.
And they're lying, right? They say, oh no, we're not going to come for birth control. We just want, we just don't want to have certain kind of abortions. We don't want to ban all abortions. And then they're banning the abortions. They're banning all abortions, coming for birth control. We're coming for IVF. So it's about, right. They always say it's like, we're pro-life. We want people to use birth control. No, we don't want people to use birth control. We want people to have babies. No, we don't want to have babies. We don't want people to use IVF, right? Because what is this about? Controlling our bodies, controlling women's bodies, controlling Black women's bodies. This is why our demand has been for bodily autonomy, because we know that it's not any one of these things. It's them all together and basically controlling our wombs. I hate to always go back to the 1800s. I feel like whenever I'm on the radio show, I'm going back to the 1800s, but it is all connected, right? Controlling the wombs of women on plantations, where how they determine, this is how big of a labor force I'm gonna need. Oh, the crops are changing, so we need a different kind of labor force. Oh, I'm gonna need a lot, I'm gonna need a little, to the point where our bodies are not in our control. So when we're saying things like our bodies, our choice, yeah, it's about abortion access, but it's about being able to have birth control. It's about being able to do IVF if you want to. And it's really frustrating. We have women out here who are voting against their own interests because they are sold these lies about late-term abortion, which is not a thing, just like falling for all of these narrative pieces. But I don't really blame them, because it is a huge narrative power project. It's Project 2025, but it's even before that, right? It's about how we're controlling the workforce, how to funnel enough low-wage workers into capitalism. It's a whole calculus that's out there. And the calculus works the best if you can control the wombs of women. And we're literally fighting to control our own bodies at every level.
866-801-8255, 866-801-TALK. If you're a Republican who is in agreement with this, I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear where the fear from women having sex for pleasure is coming from, because at the heart of it, that's a lot of what that clip was just talking about. They want you to return to the consequences of sex. They want, and the consequences for them are terrible. And I'm like, my God, you poor woman.
What is going on? What is going on?
What you have been missing
and
out.
Here's the thing. These bans don't stop people from having abortions. They don't stop us from trying to get birth control. What it does is it privileges people who are wealthy. A study just released showed that 170,000 women had to travel out of state to get an abortion since the fall of Dobbs, right? And that's number going to hit 250,000, right? Because there's 14 states where you can't get reproductive health care, right? And then it's also driven doctors out of those same states. So we see a direct connection between states that have banned abortions and states with the highest maternal death rates. I want people to really sit with that,
Yeah.
This is controlling our bodies, but also putting us in danger when you don't allow us to have the access to full spectrum of reproductive health care.
I saw a statistic that said in the state of Texas, since their abortion ban went into effect, you've had an 8% increase in infant mortality. And 8% in Monifa, and I was hoping we could get to this before the commercial break, because I know you got you sitting in your car. She's like, I got something to do, but I'm going to give you some time. But the infant mortality rate in the state of Texas increased by 8% in wake of the abortion ban. And to be clear, these are pregnancies that the woman knew was not viable, the doctors knew weren't viable, the partner knew wasn't viable, the courts knew weren't viable, and you
That's
forced
right.
these women to birth these babies who were given a death sentence. We're not going to be able to live outside the womb. You've knowingly put those women in the psychological trauma, the emotional trauma, and then their
And
physical trauma.
physical danger.
Physical danger. There are some women who will never be able to have another baby because their bodies have been destroyed by the sepsis and the bacteria and the waiting to get close enough to death before a doctor can swoop in. Monifa, forget
And you
going back
call
to the
yourself
1800s,
pro-life.
child.
And you
And
call
you call yourself
yourself
a Christian.
pro-life. Yeah.
Come on now. We going back to the 1300s at this rate. Thank you for giving us this time. I don't know what we're supposed to do with this. I don't know what we do.
Well, that's what I
know.
want to say. I want to say, because I always don't want to leave people with the doom and the gloom, right? This was the
then
second
I don't want to rush this
anniversary.
though. Hold on.
Okay.
We right at the edge of the commercial break. We're going to go to commercial break. They might be a little doomy and gloomy right now, but we're going to go to this commercial break, and you're going to come back and you're just going to give us 1 or 2 more minutes of
That's
what
right.
we do, because I cannot mail an orgasmic experience to the spokesperson that we heard there. I don't know what it would take for them to realize, baby, you fighting the wrong thing, and you probably fighting the wrong thing because you've been with the wrong, you done had the wrong experiences.